Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Estamos aquí todos los domingos, Maddie y yo, todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde, Eastern Standard Time. Hora de Nueva York, como decimos. ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Es una plataforma que tenemos con Pat TV. Pat TV está en Roku y el show es en vivo, pero también durante la semana nuestro productor Mark transmite el show también en otras plataformas, en otros países y en otros estados también. Entonces, toda la comunicación que tenemos aquí es ahorita en vivo, pero también la podemos ver en otros países, en otros lenguajes también. Entonces, hoy vamos a tener un tema porque ya saben que ya casi vamos a terminar 2025. Entonces, vamos a entrar la nueva etapa de 2026. Y tú sabes, Maddie, el otro día yo estaba leyendo que Navidad va a ser 12, 25, 25. Para que tú sepas que vamos a hacer eso. Entonces, es una fecha muy importante también. Bueno, a mí me gustan los 8 porque los 8 dicen que el 8 es el número es el número de dinero. So, por ejemplo, cuando yo me levanto por las mañanas, mi alarma dice 6:58. No me levanto a las 7. Entonces, si pongo las 7:08, ya está muy tarde. Entonces, pongo las 6:58. Pero mira, quería saber, bueno, yo soy emprendedora, tú también, porque tienes tu libro y otras cosas que tú haces. Y, por ejemplo, en inglés le decimos un side hustle, right? So we all have we all don't have a side hustle. But I think side hustles allow me to tap into my creativity and tap into my hobbies, tap into the other loves that I have. I love education. Not that I love education, I love children. I think that that's my love, is the children is my love, and being able to help other people. Today I was talking to a gentleman, he was giving me an estimate for some repairs that we need done. And just him walking around the place, I could just picture his brain, like what it's doing in the inside, and then just moving and thinking and trying to find the solution to the problem. So I love that. That it gives me like this natural high. But I think us as women, right? Women, Latinas, non-Latinas, even with my grandmother, they were stay-home moms sometimes, but they always had a side hustle. In my family, the women sew. So they would make clothing items for people, or they would do the repair, the alterations to the clothing. So there's always been a side hustle in my family. So I wanted to ask you, I know because you deal with a lot of people that come into your bank and they open bank accounts. Do you guys ever have conversations about the side hustles? Like, how popular are they? And maybe some weird ones you've seen?
Bueno, primeramente, buenas tardes. ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Pleasure to be here again on another Sunday afternoon. Side hustles. First, you mentioned women. I think, necessity is the mother of all inventions. And I think as women, we become very creative when we are juggling different things. One thing that I love about nowadays is that anything can be a side hustle. You can make money doing anything. And I think those, it's those things that, we don't think about. I think I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about how in DR, for example, not every house, so in DR, the electricity comes and goes on a daily basis. So sometimes you spend most of the day without any electricity. And literally there were houses that did have what is it called?
Generator?
A generator, yes. So houses did have generators, so they did have electricity. So some houses will sell ice. So people will come and buy, a little can of ice, just so that they can make something, they could have something cool to drink in the afternoon. So again, necessity, the mother of all inventions. Whatever you can do to kind of generate whatever you need to do, you do. And I think women, we are the best at it as well. um like you said, at the bank, yes, all the time. I get clients that come in and I want to open a business account. I'm an LLC. I think that's one of the I guess the best things. People are getting like educated again when they're doing business. At the beginning, when I started working at the bank, I used to see a lot of sole proprietorships. Everybody was a sole prop because all they had to do was go get a business license and register the business with the city. Well, nowadays, people are thinking more about the repercussions, social, the liabilities, and things of that nature. So we get more and more LLCs that come, or S corps that come in. A lot of people do, single member LLCs. One owner that is almost the same as a sole prop, but with a little bit more protection as far as liability is concerned. So, people are getting educated. So I think that's one of the things, that the growth that I have seen. Again, talking about women, doing a little bit of research and looking, into things, and it says that 40% of all Hispanic-owned businesses are owned by women, Latinas. So, I think that's wonderful. And then it says that there has been 172% growth. And this is all the census from 2022. So imagine the dent that we have made since then. And then a lot of those businesses are construction, administrative, support services, and retail. So, construction, I do have to say that surprised me a little bit. But then I could see it. I could see how a lot of the construction businesses, yes, the men are the one that work, but women, kind of run the business. One of the coolest that I see all the time, again, construction. You don't expect the women to come in, or a woman painter to come and say, yeah, I'm a painter, or I do sheetrock, and I do this, and I do that, and it's like, what? You do what? So those are always really exciting to see. But yeah, we see a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I've seen some great women painters. They do a good job installing sheetrock, and they do a great job painting. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. There's a lady that I work with, and she does a little bit of everything, but her specialty is painting, and it's not just that she does a good job, but she does it quick. So it's efficient and it's quality. So yeah, most definitely. I know for me, I've explored side hustles. I have a degree in marketing, so I've done logos and some marketing material for like smaller companies. I enjoy it's like a natural high to me to have that creativity, but I know my limits, right? Because it's not something that I do on a daily basis, but I just love working with the startups. Just to kind of get them started, to give them the ideas, for them to go back and kind of pillow talk, with their mates or with their friends, and then come back and finally decide on what they're going to do. I think it's amazing. It's amazing to me to be able to tell them to think about names or to think about colors, which is things that they haven't thought about, before. It's just a side hustle. And even with my tutoring business, I've had tutors that have come to me asking me to help them start their own tutoring business as well. So that has been great as well. At the beginning, I was like I didn't like that thought. But it was great being able to help other people or mentor them into that field as well. And I think too, like I tell people all the time, your passion, you could turn your passion into that side hustle. And I think in today's world, the economy that we live in, it's important to have a side hustle, right? Even sometimes with the dual income households, people still have, they either have a part-time job or they have a side hustle. My 21-year-old son, He's in school and he works, but he takes photography. He does photography. So he's a basketball player. So he'll go to games and he'll take pictures of basketball players. And then he also referees. He referees basketball and football games, park and rec. And so they get pretty well, and it's just another source of income, and it's something that he enjoys. It's easy for him to make those, $30-$40 an hour. So something like that. So I always tell people to kind of tap into their love, and that's the best, right? Like Maddie, you approve of this, right? You love poetry, you're good at it. So like, what made you one day say, you know what, let me write a book?
It's one of those things that, I've been doing poetry for a little bit, and I see people do stuff, and I'm like, okay. I remember my first project was a CD, and I was like, okay, I want to record. And it was a big step for me, because I've always hated my voice. I always hated the sound of my voice. And I was like, I don't want to live in a recording, And it was like one of the things that I always thought about. And then I started recording, and I was like, well, I guess it doesn't sound so bad. I still don't like the sound of my voice, but I did it. I did a CD, and then it was like, okay, what else can I do? And, like always, brainstorming, I had tons of ideas, and I was like, okay, let's do a book, have a couple of projects in my head, which one is the most ready to go? And I did it. And it was one of those things, I think, for me, maybe because I haven't had to make it, I haven't had, like, it's not my livelihood, like it's not my main job. Like maybe I haven't pushed as hard as I should. It's more like a labor of love. It's more something that I enjoy, something that I always wanted to do. And I did, so it's been that more legacy kind of thing, especially this particular book, it was more something that I wanted to like live forever. Like my friend George Mendez says all the time, now you're gonna live forever, so it was, again, my book, A Vision of She, it's about empowering young women, the love that we as women, show towards, our children, towards, other girls, other women, ourselves, that we wish that we, that younger us would have been shown, and, so things like that. And I wanted that to be in print and forever. And it's like my little, como mi pequeña aportación al futuro de mi familia, de mis hijas, de mi nieta, de los hijos de mi nieta, etc. So I'm really proud of that. And yes, I want to continue doing that. I want to kind of grow that legacy. So I really hope that I can keep the projects coming. But yeah, I think, again, like I was saying before, as women, I think that those are the things that push us. What can I do? How can I make this? Making money was never the first priority, but if I can make money doing what I like and what I love, then why not?
Hey, I think that's the best type of money.
Yes. And like you were saying before too, it's like kind of like sharing or paying it forward, the things that you learn along the way. Like you were saying, at the beginning, you're like, oh, I don't want you to tap into my side hustle, tutoring or whatever, or my business. But at the same time, it's like, 10 years down the line, you're like, you know what? I remember when that person started working for me, and look at how successful they are. So I get that. I live that. I get to live that all the time when I see my clients, in the area that I work now. I've been there for 19 years. So I've met kids that I've opened their student accounts, and now they have homes and children, and it's like, oh my God, like, really, is this you? Are you this grown? And just to think that I had a little something to do with it.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And as we get older, right, that happens like more and more frequently. Like today, a lady texted me, or she called about tutoring, and 5 years ago she called because she was getting tutored, and now she's calling because she has a daughter that needs tutoring. So it's like, oh my God, me estoy poniendo vieja, But I do enjoy it. I enjoy I tell my kids all the time, my sons, the ultimate goal in life is to go to this place where you can get paid and you enjoy getting up in the mornings and doing it. It's extremely fulfilling. I think to me, you know, whether you go to college or don't go to college, whether you go to the military, be an entrepreneur, I don't know, even if you work at a local restaurant, but if you just love serving people and all that stuff, I just think that's the ultimate goal, right? Because it will give you that sense of freedom, hopefully financial freedom. And because I see people, we encounter people all the time that we're like, oh my gosh, she does not like her job, you know, because you see it depending on the service that you get from them.
Mhm.
Usually, unless they're having a bad day, but typically, I would just say, oh my gosh, she does not like her job, you know. So, and I think too, to have the mindset of, you know, ultimately, like, what am I trying to do? Like, why am I doing this? Like you were saying, Maddie, right? You're doing it for this legacy, for that is not just for your daughter, but it's for your daughter's daughter and just for multiple generations. Like, I just happen to have, this is my mom's book, right? This is the book that she did, and it's called Learning Spanish with Troy and Joelle. And so it took her, Joelle is 15. It took her probably 13 years to get
Mhm.
to finally finish it because she, and I'm sure it still has an error or two, but she wanted it to be to perfection. You know, I think she would, if like so many people looked at her book, I'm like, you would have so many editors, you know, to to thank in the book. But just a lot of people have touched this book, and it's truly a legacy because it has her grandchildren's names on it. Is being sold on Amazon. You know, the money, every time that it's being sold, there's money being deposited into a bank account. And when she's not here any longer, that money is going to go to my grandkids, you know. So it just continues her passion, um, for this book, and for her grandchildren will live forever as long as Amazon is here. And I don't think Amazon is going anywhere. And I just think I've seen, you know how in the, I don't know if you got, do you guys still do like those Christmas accounts where people put certain amount of money every month?
So
And
we don't, yeah, not anymore. You saying how old you are, Riviana. I'm just
and
kidding. Yeah, they used to be called the Christmas Club accounts. Yeah, I
mm,
remember those. We do have not necessarily a Christmas Club account, but we do have like certificates of deposits that you can we you know particularly at where I work, we have one that's called an add-on CD, and basically it's a certificate of deposit open with $100, and then you deposit $50 in it every month. You have to deposit at least $50 to it every month. You know, with savings accounts, we suggest that you automate your services, your not your services, your deposits, so that you don't see it, because when you don't see it and it just happens, it's kind of easier for you to kind of leave it alone. So yes, so anytime we open a savings account, one of the suggestions is actually one of the incentives on our particular savings account is that you don't have a balance requirement if you do that $25 transfer once a month to the account. So a lot of people do it for that, but if you think about it, if you have a savings and you spend 4 months without touching it, that's $100 right there that you didn't even thing to put in there. So you can do it once a month, you can do it twice a month, however you want to do it, but definitely pay yourself first is what we say. Whether it is $25, $50, whatever feels comfortable for you, put that money aside first and pay yourself.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about that, because with these side hustles, you can put them into some type of account like that, so that at the end of the year, you can utilize it for either home improvements or a vacation or Christmas or whatever the holidays. And I know a lot of people that's what their side hustle is. That's what it's used for,
And even
for a
to
project.
reinvest in your side hustle. For me, I remember when I printed my first, few books or whatever. Again, it was an out-of-pocket expense. And then now whenever I sell a book, I make sure that I put some money in a savings account dedicated. Just, it's called book account. And it's just for that. So whenever I need to, re-up on my book orders, I know that I have the money to reorder in that account. So I know that I will always have the money in there to be able to buy 30 copies, 40 copies, or whatever, so that I can have them at hand. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think it's just a financial piece, because I remember meeting a gentleman a couple of years ago. I was in Colombia. I was on vacation in Colombia, and he said, "Hey, what type of business? Like, if I go to the United States, what type of business should I have where I can make money?" And I said, it doesn't work like that, right? I mean, it could, right? But it will be so temporary. I said, it's better, like, what are you good at? Like, he was a barber. So I was like, maybe you can potentially go and cut hair, and just have some type of niche, because you don't want to come and do construction, but you're not good at it, right? Because it's not going to bring you revenue at all. And then also, I wanted to ask you, Maddie, as these side hustles, right, compared to our main job or our main career or main business, what are some extra things that we could do? When can I realize, like this is not just a side hustle, right? How do I become literate of the possibility of how I can grow my side hustle, and determining, do I always want it to stay? I only want to make $3,000 a year. That's it. Or when do you start to decide to go to the next level?
I think, sometimes, like, when we start doing things again on the side, and you get to the point where, my two hands are not enough, or myself, I'm not enough for the demand that I am currently having. You know what I'm saying? I think, when you get to that point and you are forced to kind of branch out, that's kind of when you have to decide, do I want to do this for real? Do I want to do more of this? Again, and I keep saying, and that I am a believer, just because I've failed, at stuff as well. You got to educate yourself, know how business works, because sometimes, again, we start doing things out of passion, and it's like, this is the love that I have. So I love to cook, so let me cook and sell food. Well, cooking and sell food is not the business. There's a lot more that goes with cooking and selling food. There's insurance. You have to have some type of insurance, liability, just in case, if you're going to sell out of a truck, if you're going to sell out of your car, if you're going to cook out of home, there's certain permits that you have to have, because people can sue you and things can happen. But you don't think about those things, because you just love to cook and people love to eat your food. So there's a lot more that you have to think about. It's not just the passion that you have, but what can I do with my passion? How can I expand this? So I always suggest that you research your industry. There's a lot of, particularly at the financial institution that I work at, that's one of the things that we do, share with our small businesses. We like to kind of share things about their particular industry, and then when you're reviewing those things and you kind of read and look over things like that, then you're like, oh, I never thought about that. Okay, so if you never thought about that, let me give you an idea. Whether it is insurance, coverage, we know, that there's should be liability insurance, but then depending on what kind of business you have, the insurance that you might need might be a little bit different. Again, paying taxes. If you own a restaurant, the one thing that for sure that you're going to have to do is pay taxes. How can I make that easier? Well, like we were saying before, setting up a savings account and doing that automatic transfer, transfer $100 once a month, at the end of the quarter, you'll have $300 that you can throw in towards taxes. That's if you have to come up with $600 at the end of 3 months, that's only $300 that you have to come up with, because you already have $300 that you've been putting on the side. So it's how can you make things easier so that you're not scrambling at the end or whenever you need it. So again, planning, researching, educating yourself, researching, and then planning, it's important to have a plan A and a plan B because you never know. But unless you research your industry and you know what the things that can happen, how can you know what to prepare for? Because everybody is different. I can tell you, I did this and I failed. So if I'm sharing that with you, it's so that you can see my example and say, okay, how can I prevent that from happening to me? Again, that's why that's why we love this platform, because it allows us to talk about things and put things into perspective so that people can say, oh, I never thought of that, or okay, I see how that can happen. How can I prevent that from happening to me?
Yeah, I think it's the mentorship. I know when I started my business, you don't always have to know the mentor. It can be somebody, like I know I researched a tutoring company out on the West Coast. And then I looked at another company that was about 3 hours from where I stay, just to compare their methods, to compare how their website looked like. So you don't always have to have a mentor that that you can call and get information from. You could definitely do research on your, I say I don't have competition, but on your competition, other businesses that do like services or products that you provide. But you can definitely, always strongly suggest that. I try to do things in threes. So comparing, three insurance companies, three banking institutions. I think the banking piece is so crucial, Maddie, because I don't want to say it's just having that relationship with your banker, right? Like the bank that I go to, like they know me as Viviana, right? They know my grandmother, they know my mom because they have accounts there as well. So if I ever need something, like they're always available for me. Every time I call, they answer. There's this one lady, she tends to answer the phone every time I need something extra for her to go above and beyond. But I think that's extremely important. I know that there are some banks that when it comes to business accounts, they don't even do it in person. You have to do everything online.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's horrible to start off a business like that, where you're really going to need guidance. And even if your banker doesn't know, they can guide you in the direction to grow or whatever it is that you're trying to do with the business. So I think that's extremely crucial. I know when I started with my business, I used to just do an Excel spreadsheet myself of the things that was coming in and the stuff that was going out. But once I started to make a mistake and I messed up somebody's payment, or I messed up something on my end, that's when I realized I need to get somebody else to help me. And that's sometimes an indication of your growth,
Mm-hmm.
is that you messed something up, that you made a mistake. And that's when you reach out. And I know I had a lady, and I think it's a lot of fear factors as well, right? Like I'm afraid of how much an accountant is going to charge me for these services, or a bookkeeper. But I think until you go out there and you talk,
Mm-hmm.
it's really not expensive. And I love the fact that when my taxes get submitted, it has my signature and her signature too.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case they come asking questions, I'm going to ask her questions. So I think those two relationships are essential.
And those mistakes can be more expensive than what you're paying ahead of time. And that's the thing. A lot of people don't, because what happens is that it takes the IRS at least 3 to 4 years to catch up to whatever you have done. So if you did something right now in 2025, they're probably reviewing the records of 2021. So in your mind, you're like, oh yeah, I made it home free. No, the IRS is reviewing their stuff. They're just a little behind. So eventually they will catch up. So if you've been doing things the wrong way, eventually they're going to come back to you and something is going to happen. So say that to say that sometimes if you pay somebody, one, when you have a bookkeeper or a tax person, they assume the liability on there. So if you get audited, if your business gets audited, guess what? Your accountant, your bookkeeper has to be there with you and walk you through that audit. You know what I'm saying? So having somebody that assumes that responsibility with you because they guided you at the beginning, so they're going to guide you through this, is crucial. And somebody that you trust and that you can talk about, with clarity what you've been doing. I think that's crucial.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I recently had to get a loan for something, and they requested for my CPA to write a letter, that she has been doing my taxes, and she was like confirming that, I'm an entrepreneur and that the numbers that I submitted were correct. So if I didn't have a relationship with her, who knows how long it would take me to get a letter like that. So I think that that's extremely important. And getting rid of the fear. And, especially with all the technology that we have available to us, all the resources where you can Google something or use AI to any question in the world that you could have, you could literally get an answer to. It may not be the correct answer for you, but it will give you a starting point as to where to go to get other ideas. And I think also shopping around. Even though you've had your insurance with company A, every so often, because I know I've had agents, they call me and they say, hey Viviana, this company has lower rates now, let's switch you over. Having those relationships where some other agents never call.
And even with your same insurance company, don't be afraid to speak up, because if you have, I've known, like, for example, right now, the interest rates are very volatile, and interest rates are going up and down because we don't know what the market is doing. So any financial institution you go to, the interest rate will be high, will be down, short term is higher, while in the past, long term was higher interest because people will lock your money for longer periods of time. So they will pay you for that. Well, now it's the other way around because we don't know what's going to happen to the interest rates. But banks are negotiating. You can go to a bank and you can say, I have $50,000 and bank X is giving me this much. How, can you match that? Can you get close to that? If not, I'm taking my money and taking it to bank B. And the bank will try to retain or do whatever they can to retain your business. And that goes for any business. Insurance company, if you go through your insurance and you say, I got a quote from XB Insurance, and they giving me this and it's the same coverage and whatever, the worst thing that can happen is that your current insurance company will say, okay, we will match the rate so that you don't go. You know what I'm saying? How much money did you just save just because you went somewhere else and you look for a quote? But don't just say somebody else is offering. Do the research, because sometimes, they will tell you, like I've had clients call and say, well, this bank, I have a bank that's giving me, okay, who's the bank? And you know what they do? You go and you call the bank, or you go into their website and you see if it's true what they're doing. So saying that to say, get a quote, put it in writing, and then take it to whoever your provider is and be like, I got this quote and this is what it says. What can you do for me? And if it's more convenient for you, because at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you and your business and your particular situation. Like you said before, shop around. That's one of the things that I always recommend to all of my clients. A lot of the people that work at the bank where I'm at, they work for the bank first. So they're not there to sell a particular product. And that's one of the things that, I do like about a lot of our partners is that it's about educating the client, and this is what we have to offer, and they get paid whether you make a purchase or not. So they're not pushing a particular product on you. So it's more like, this is what we offer. But I tell clients, bring somebody. Do you have somebody at home that knows whether it is investing or whether it is, if you're a small business and you're talking about merchant services, did you get a quote from that other company that's allowing you to process credit cards? Did they give you a statement? Did they tell you how much they're going to charge you for? Did they give you a detail of what they're going to charge? Bring that, and we'll give that to our representative and have them look at it so that we can compare apples to apples. Because sometimes what happens is that people compare, oh no, this company does this, but yeah, they're doing that, but you're paying more money on the back end, but when you can see the whole picture, and I can say, yeah, I can save you money, and this is where I can save you money, or no, you got a good deal, go for it. I've said that to a lot of clients. You have an awesome deal, go with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, it's, again, what's more convenient for you.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think that that's why it's so important to um, do your research, right? Educate yourself. And we've said this multiple times. Maddie's always talking about educating ourselves, and is for any topic, right? And and she's not talking about a college degree. You don't have to go to college for 4 years to educate yourself. Educating yourself could be uh, looking it up online, talking to other people that are doing the stuff that you have done.
Mhm.
Kind of like we tell our kids, learn from our mistakes. And even though they want to make their own mistakes too, but you really don't have to, right? There are really a lot of resources available. And sometimes it's the bad timing. And I think, I'm big on energy. And so if things are just not working out for the moment, I just let it be for a while, and I just don't do anything with it. And then I may come back to it at a later time. um and I'm like that about everything, right? So like if Maddie and I have a conversation and I felt some type of way about something that she said, I may not say anything at the moment, but if it continues to come up in my brain, I will call and have a conversation, and then it will leave my brain. And so I think it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, with side hustles, even with your jobs, your 8 to 5. It's extremely important to address the things that happen, because you always learn. The objective is to learn, right, from the experiences. And sometimes it's learning for me, and it's also learning for the other person. And I've learned to be more empathetic at times, not all the time, but at times, to really sit back and put myself in the other person's shoes before I get in my feelings about a certain situation, or a topic that I might be passionate about, and I saw my perspective, but I didn't see the other person's perspective, which is
Mhm.
could be harmful to a relationship as well, and to yourself. Um, and we talked about this a little bit before, Maddie, but as we have side hustles, as we tap into entrepreneurship, um, there's the multitasking piece, right? And we've already said that women are masters at multitasking, but there's also challenges within that. What if you could say one thing, which would be like your number one advice to the side hustler or to the entrepreneur in reference to managing their professional life with their personal life? What is that one thing that you would recommend?
Mm, that's a tough one. I think priorities. You have to keep your priorities straight. And know, like, know your limits. Because sometimes, we want to pour into things, like I said. Sometimes we do things out of passion, and you do something out of passion, and you're like, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna invest every single money that I have saved up, because this is gonna take off. And like, you gotta be realistic. And you gotta understand, okay, am I gonna invest all of this? So if I'm gonna throw this party because I'm having a book release party, and I'm gonna spend $5,000 in this book release party, because I gotta put money, because I gotta get my book out there. Am I gonna get $5,000? If I sell the books that I have at hand, and am I gonna make the $5,000 back? Understand? So is it worth it for me to spend that amount of money? Am I gonna get that back from this party that I'm planning on doing? So it's things like that. I think, being realistic, being honest with ourselves, and priorities. What can I do? How much can I invest now? And how many books can I sell? Is that going to make me break even? How can I save a little bit of money and have the same impact? So all of those are things again, is education and planning. Planning, because Again, know your industry, where you're going to do it, what you're going to do, how, again, how can I save money? How can I, what is my goal? What is my ultimate goal? When I do this, what is it that I want to get out of it? So, so again, just because I've been there, I've gotten burned, trying to do something out of passion and just putting everything that you have and giving and not getting anything out of it, and at the end of the day having to give it up because it was like I had nothing else to give. So I would say priorities, be realistic, and what's the plan, what's the ultimate goal. I know what the ultimate goal is, but what is the short-term goal, and what is the long-term goal? I can't even speak today, sorry.
Yeah, I would say something similar. I would say the blocking out time, which is part of the getting organized and planning, right? So planning your time to make sure that your children are not being neglected, or your mate or your household or yourself are not being neglected in the process, because as side hustlers, as entrepreneurs, we don't even realize it sometimes, and we're working over 40 hours a week, right? Because of the passion. But then you will get drained, and you will either get sick, and then you just be shut down. Your body will shut you down if you don't shut it down, or you will start to have marital problems, or your kids' grades might start going down. You just don't know. So I think it's just having the balance to map out, to do time scheduling, slots of, what am I going to do from 6 to 7. Like, I know a lot of women that I know, they wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to have solo time. That would never work for me, because I love to sleep. So I've thought about it, but like for seconds, because that's not something that's aligned for my lifestyle. I would rather in the middle of the day sit in the car for 30 minutes by myself. Like, that's more fulfilling for me than to wake up at 4 o'clock and nothing's going on from 4 to 5. I would rather sleep. But just finding that technique that's going to be beneficial for you, and that try your best for the other things in your world not to pay the consequences for you not being there for whatever the reason, and just finding balance. And I think it's communication. Both of my sons play basketball. My oldest son has graduated from high school, but my youngest, there was I think 2 years ago, both of my kids were playing high school basketball. So usually during basketball season, you have 2 games every week. So that means I was going to 4 games every week. So it was tiring, and I had to have conversations with them to say, hey, I'm probably not going to go to your game tonight because I need to rest, or I'm going to this networking event, and not feeling guilty that I said no to this basketball game. So I think it's the balancing act. Planning ahead, and I think
priorities. Like which can I afford to miss this game? It's not a final, it's not it's not a pivotal game, whatever. Okay, so let's see, what can I do, so that I can be there for the championship game, or for the playoff game, or for the game that you are starting, or whatever. So again, it's a give and take. I think as women, because I always guilt trip myself a lot, and I wanted to do everything. And one of the best advice that I got was, you can do everything, just not all at the same time. And I think that's one of the toughest lessons that I've had to learn. But it was probably the best piece of advice that I ever got. Yes, you can do everything, just not all at the same time.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, Maddie. I just pulled it up. But it says Latinos contribute $4.1 trillion in 2023. So imagine what it's looking like for 24 and how we're going to end 25. We continue to grow in population, in education. joining the military, making more money, spending more money. So we truly continue to grow. I think when we started the show 3 years ago, we were saying it was 3.4.
3.4.
3.4. And we've been doing the show for 3.5 years, and we're at 4.1.
There you go.
Yeah.
Trillion.
Thank God I didn't do a t-shirt, because I would have had to change the number.
We need a t-shirt that we can Velcro zeros to it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but we're definitely at a 4.1 contribution, financial contribution to the United States. And this is not other countries. This is just the contribution. Maddie, you're a part of it. I'm a part of it. And if you're watching this show, you're a part of it as well. And this is men, women, and we all contribute to it. There's Latino influencers on social media. We're selling items, resources, products, and services all the time. To everyone. And there's a lot of non-Latino organizations, entities that want to do business with Latinos, because they're aware of the $4.1 trillion that we contribute.
Yeah, and like we keep talking about this too, and in other shows, we make reference how, people are more accepting and highlighting of their Hispanic roots, whether they are a no sabo kid or a fluent Spanish speaking person. People are taking pride on their roots and their upbringings, and whoever you least expect, it's Hispanic. Like sometimes I'm watching TV and they're like, oh, whatever, so and so, and it's like, what, really? They are, and they're proud of that, and I think that says a lot of again, like you said, our growth, our culture, and the things that we are able to accomplish as well. So,
yep. It's funny you say that. Let me pull up. I started watching a show, and it's called the Lincoln Lawyer, right? So I started watching it, and the main character, his name is Manuel Garcia Rulfo, right? And I was like, when I first heard him talk, he had like a little accent, but I was like, where is he from? He's Mexican.
Yes, I love it. I love the Lincoln Lawyer. I love that show.
Yeah, I started watching it this week, and I love it. It's amazing.
New season is coming out, so that's why I'm excited. When you said that, yes, season 4 is coming out, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so once I found out he was Mexican, I was like, oh my God, I definitely got to watch this, and that's what we do, right? Our culture does this. And we just really, I think we do a good job of supporting each other. I think in the media, we tend to hear a lot of the separation, the division of people. But I think overall, it's just like people say that there's really more nice people than not nice people in this world, right? But we tend to highlight the negative. But yeah, I got extremely excited when I found out that he was Latino. I was like, oh my gosh. And he has a leading role in the show.
Yeah, and he speaks very well. I don't know if you've heard him already speak Spanish, but he speaks excellent Spanish. So yeah, and I don't know if you've gotten to any of those episodes, but Angelica Maria plays his mom.
Oh,
so
no!
Eventually, you will see her in the Angelica Maria is his mother in the show.
Oh wow! Yeah, so I love that. I get excited, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm Maddie's fan, is because I'm telling you, the bilingual poems that you do, I get goosebumps with the other ones too, but I'll never forget the first time that I heard you recite a bilingual poem. I think we were in Norfolk somewhere, and I don't know, it just does something to my soul when I hear my language, when I hear another Latina just do something so well, with quality. It's exciting for me.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
identity. It's identity. Like we say, one of the things that we crave as humans is to belong. And when you see somebody that looks or sounds like you, or that feels the same thing that you do, that does something to your psyche. So when we see somebody on TV that, oh my God, look at that brown skinned girl with curly hair, she's beautiful. Look at that curvy girl, like Dancing with the Stars is one of the shows that I love. And the diversity that they have, not only Hispanic, non-Hispanic, but also the skinny girls, the curvy girls. They had a girl that had no legs, no feet. I mean, so it's just amazing. They had a dancer, that one of the dancers that won, he was deaf. Like, he was dancing to music with choreography.
Mm.
Like, literally, whenever he was learning his choreo, he would cover his eyes, because for him it was about numbers. So he had to learn the steps through numbers and things like that. So for him, if he couldn't see, he could count the numbers, and that's how he learned his choreo. So it's just amazing to see people like that. So imagine all the deaf people that were watching him dance because they were his fans, and they're like, oh my God, he did that, and he won the show. He won the entire thing. So it's just things like that you're like, okay, if look at that, that's me. That sounds like me. I feel that. I know that feeling. So I think that's kind of what we identify with when we see one of us doing something that we admire.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. I love it. I get extremely excited. Even, and it doesn't have to be famous people. I remember when my son got his car, the first thing he did was get a Colombian flag and put it on the rear view mirror. Like, that was exciting to me, just to kind of show how proud we are of our culture. It's just amazing. It's amazing. But I think that's all we have for today. I think this is a very exciting topic, Maddie. I love entrepreneurship. If you tell me, hey Viviana, let's start selling these, I'll be like, bet, let's go. We'll have a marketing strategy to sell it starting tomorrow. But I just think it's definitely not made for everyone. Because it requires a different type of passion, because sometimes you could be your passion is there, but there's certain things that have to be done that we don't want to do, and it can potentially crush you if you let it crush you, because it could be discouraging, because you can love to make floral arrangements or do interior decorating, but then when you go and you're budgeting, or trying out 3 different insurance companies, and 2 out of the 3 are mean to you, or they're condescending to you, you might give up on calling that third one. Discouraging. But that's why I say it's not made for everyone. But definitely, for me, it has been extremely worth it. If I were to retire tomorrow, I would feel a fulfilled person, just because I love what I do. I enjoy waking up every morning and having the flexibility to go to the bank at any time that I want to, versus if you have to go and check in and clock out at certain times. I tried it a long time ago, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not made for this. But I'm spoiled. So being an entrepreneur is like right up my alley. So I love it. It fits my personality. And we also want to say hello to our whoever's watching us, our fans, our audience. Thank you for watching us. We really do not take for granted that you take aside some time on Sundays to watch us. And if you have any suggestions as the topics that you want to hear, please let us know, because sometimes we run out of ideas and we don't know what you guys want to hear for us to talk about. So definitely, we always welcome the comments, the suggestions, definitely. So as you guys know, we always end our show with one of Maddie's poems. So we'll see what she comes up with today. We're ready.
Yes, I want to say before we get into poem, I just want to say thank you to our audience. Thank you to everybody that tunes in every Sunday and supports us and sends us love. So thank you. We see you and we appreciate you. This is an oldie but goodie, and I think again, like Viviana said, being an entrepreneur or just requires a different drive. Like you said, it's not for everybody. Not everybody can do it. Some people need some kind of structure and being told what to do, but then other people do better when they have the freedom to do whatever they need to do. So whatever that thing is for you, just find it and run with it, and don't be afraid. Of course, educate yourself, do your research, and do whatever you can to prevent failing. And sometimes failing is not a bad thing. That's how we learned. Okay. So this poem is probably one of the first poems that I wrote about my culture, and the struggle that my parents went through to be who they are, and me finding myself. So it's called In Between. I've read this a couple of times, but it's one of my favorites. So I was born in the land of possibility, where I was taught to believe that anything is attainable, and dreaming doesn't cost a thing. Until innocence is outgrown and you come face to face with deceit, to realize the high price we actually paid to dream. In search of a better life, my parents became aliens in this new world, hoping to swim with the current, but instead found themselves swimming against its force. You would think that that would be enough to instill in them fear. Instead, they found their own way to cope and deal with stress, not forgetting about their past, but making the best out of what they had, working twice as hard to prove that they could hang, trying to communicate in a language that they could barely understand, but no complaints. You see, resilience has always been a part of their blood. They could always find another way to make it to the top. Trying to bounce up and not down, my generation start to question its ground. You see, I was born here, but I was raised there. I was too American for there and too Dominican for here. I didn't belong anywhere. In the confusion, you are forced to put on hold all that you have known because you have to be like everyone else and try to fit the mold. The internal struggle finds its way up. Am I really an American, or am I from where my parents came from? The blue color in my passport made my parents feel at ease and proud. But in the street, that has no value when you speak English with an accent and your skin is brown. I found myself in the middle, held captive by my in-between, embracing opportunity but trying to hide the ethnic side of me, straightening my mommy curly hair and whitening my daddy tan skin, changing the dark coffee color in my eyes to American decaf with milk in. I just wanted to fit in, not have to explain to everybody why I look and sounded different, hating in between. But I learned that doubt only create questions. By trying to hide who you really are, you only add extra pressure instead of enjoying the pleasures, making the discovery of being different a treasure. Reassurance that comes from within, knowing that I don't have to choose from in between because I am all the way in. A bilingual tongue that's smart enough to create tactics. A mulata skin that's becoming synonymous with Maddie. The gift of words adding sabor to my spit. That makes me me, knowing that in between doesn't have to be a detriment because it is a gift. I, birthed from mommy's hopes and papi's dreams, have become this bridge between my parents' generation and that of my kids. And it is up to me to embody the pride that one should always feel. Like not being ashamed to pronounce the R in between the letters of my last name, Garcia. Inject with convictions the words every time I'm asked, and I get to say, yes, sir, I am a proud American of Dominican descent.
Thank you, Maddie. That was great as always. That's one of the goosebump ones. I love it. Thank you. So again, we're here every Sunday, 4:00 Eastern Standard Time, and we are extremely excited that 2026 is coming up. So get ready for your resolutions, get ready for your goal setting, realistic goal setting. And we look forward to having you next Sunday at 4:00 Eastern Standard Time. And we want to say thank you to our producer, Mark, and to Pot TV through Roku. So thank you and have a great week on purpose, as Maddie and Tangi would say. Thank you.
are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
Are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be.
A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.